My own fairy book, namely certain chronicles of Pantouflia, and notably the adventures of Frigio, prince of that country, and of his son Ricardo, with an excerpt from the Annals of Scotland as touching Cara de Fairlane, his sojourn with the Queen of the Fairy, and whole written by Andrew Lang and adorned by Gordon Brown, T. Scott, and E. A. Lamont. Bristol Aerosmith, 1895. New York, Longman's Green Company. To children. The author of this book is also the editor of the Blue, Red, Green, and Yellow fairy books. He has always felt rather an impostor because so many children seem to think that he made up these books out of his own head. Now, he only picked up a great many old fairy tales told in French, German, Greek, Chinese, Red Indian, Russian, and other languages and had them translated and printed, with pictures. He is glad that children like them, but he must confess that they should be grateful to old forgotten people, long ago, who first invented these tales and who knew more about fairies than we can hope to do. My own fairy book, which you now have in your hands, was made up altogether out of his own head by the author, of course with the help of historical papers in the kingdom of Pantouflia. About that ancient kingdom very little is known. The natives speak German, but the royal family, as usual, was of foreign origin. Just as England has had Norman, Scottish, and, at present, a line of German monarchs, so the kings of Pantouflia are descended from an old Greek family, the Hypnotidae, who came to Pantouflia during the Crusades. They explained, not to be troubled with the Crusades, which they thought were injudicious and tiresome. The crest of the regal house is a dormouse, dormant, proper, on a field vert with the motto, when translated out of the original Greek, means anything for a quiet life. It may surprise the young reader that the princes like Frigio and Ricardo, whose feet were never in the stirrup and whose lances were always at rest, should be descended from the family of the Hypnotidae, who were remarkably lazy and peaceful. But these heroes doubtless inherited the spirit of their great ancestors, whose story is necessary to be known. On leaving his native realm during the Crusades in search of some secure asylum, the founder of the Pantouflian monarchy landed in the island of Cyprus, where, during the noontide heat, he lay down to sleep in a cave. Now, in this cave dwelt a dragon of enormous size and unamiable character. What was the horror of the exiled prince when he was aroused from slumber by the fiery breath of the dragon, and felt its scaly coils around him? "Oh, hang your practical jokes!" exclaimed the prince, imagining that some of his courtiers were playing a prank on him. "You call this a joke?" answered the dragon, twisting his forked tail into a line with his royal highness's eye. "Do take that thing away," said the prince, "and let a man have his nap peacefully." "Kiss me," cried the dragon, which had already devoured many gallant knights for declining to kiss it. "Give you a kiss," murmured the prince. "Oh, certainly, if that's all. Anything for a quiet life." So saying, he kissed the dragon, which instantly became a most beautiful princess, for she had lain enchanted as a dragon by a wicked magician, so somebody should be bold enough to kiss her. "My love, my hero, my lord, how long I have waited for thee, and now I am eternally thine own." So murmured the most affectionate accents, Lady Dragonessa, as she was now called. Though wedded to a bachelor life, the prince was much too well bred to make a remonstrance. Lady Dragonessa, a female of extraordinary spirit, energy, and ambition, took command of him and his followers and conducted them up the Danube, seized a principality whose lord had gone crusading, set her husband on the throne, and became in course of time the mother of the little prince, who again was the great-great-great-great-grandfather of our Prince Brigio. From his adventurous Lady Dragonessa, Prince Brigio derived his character for gallantry, but her husband, it is said, was often heard to remark, by a slight change of his family motto, "Anything for a quiet wife." You now know as much as the author does of the history of Pantouflia. As to the story called The Gold of Herein, such adventures were extremely common in Scotland long ago, as may be read in many of the works of Sir Walter Scott and the learned in general. Indeed, Herein is the very place where the fairy queen appointed to meet her lover, Thomas the Rhymer. With these explanations, the author leaves to the judgment of the young readers of his own fairy book.